there's a theory I really want to test that I found out about recently.
What's that?
Apparently, if you get your butt fucked, you can just end up orgasming accidentally. And I think that's pretty amazing.
That's my response to that.
Okay.
I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, isn't that what they say about the male G spot is in the butt?
I can't see your face, so I can't see the look on it, but I can't imagine it's a good.
Oh, I'm sure you
can.
I'm sure you can imagine it.
I am right now, and it's a pleasant feeling.
Exactly. Hey, before we're like 50 to 45 minutes in, you want to do an intro?
Probably be a good idea, huh?
Hello and welcome to another episode of It Never Ends. I'm Andrew, over there with my good buddy Alex. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, I think. All things considered.
Pretty good. I'm doing all right as well. So, I don't know. Did you see the Nintendo Indie showcase today or whatever they did?
No, I didn't even know that was happening.
I didn't know it was happening either. All I know is that when I looked onto Twitter earlier today and they said I saw a Silk Song was trending, and I'm like, oh shit, did they actually put something up? Nope.
I think it was trending because everyone wanted Silk Song to be there, and it just wasn't.
Well, I think people had their hopes up really high for this one because what they had an ESRB rating in Europe or something like that recently came out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in Xbox's June showcase. I didn't think it was going to be in here because they still have the marketing rights for that game.
Do they? Is that Microsoft has that?
That's why they showed it off in their last Xbox showcase.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Well, yeah, I mean that makes sense then. I was like,
but
yeah,
I do think it's coming. I think we're finally getting to that point.
I think we're getting there. It's just we gotta wait just a little bit longer. That's all it comes down to. But yeah, that was the only reason I knew this was really happening. There wasn't a whole lot of games I thought were super interesting on it or whatever. There was some cool ones or whatever, but nothing that really piqued my interest.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there was a Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Because that totally counts as indie.
Exactly, that's what I said. I'm like, is this considered indie?
A game from a huge franchise by a huge studio totally fits into this. I don't know, man. It's weird. Despite Switch being a super portable console, I always expected the Switch to be super associated with the indie scene because I figured that's what a lot of people would gravitate towards it. But every time I see people talking about the Switch, it's usually just mainline Nintendo stuff. And if people are talking about Switch indie games on the go, they usually talk about the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally or something like that. It's always been kind of weird that way. Yeah, you have the rare ones like Hades, but
I mean that's just big on any platform really.
I mean, yeah.
I saw Hades 2 had a technical showcase too the other day. Looked really interesting.
Early access is opening up, so if you wanna,
is it?
If you want to try signing up, see if you can get in on that. You can officially sign up for that. Let's see, Hades 2. Yep, join the Hades 2 playtest. Request access, and you'll get notified when the developer is ready for more participants.
Oh yeah, look at that.
If both Hades 2 and Silk Song come out this year, that'd be
pretty freaking neat.
That'd be pretty fantastic. Imagine they both get nominated for Game of the Year.
Imagine they both get nominated for Game of the Year, and I feel like it'd also be hard to pick between
the two of them.
Or just for especially indie Game of the Year as well.
Yeah,
it's fuck. I wouldn't have the guy that has
especially when you consider both Pal World and Helldivers is also going to be on there.
God damn. Yeah,
it's a big year for indie games. It's crazy.
It's so funny to me. It's like I've recently read this article on Kotaku that was really talking about how on the last GDC, a lot of devs were really worried about like the kind of like the AAA push for live action and stuff like that, and how developers seem to know exactly what required for keeping a live action game going, but doesn't seem like the publishers or the people that are the like ones that says, hey, do this, really seem to know what that is. So not truly shocking by any stretch. I mean, you ask any corporate fuck what anything means down below or whatever, and they go, I don't know what the fuck. You just do it, bitch.
Do it and do it good.
Exactly, do it and do it good. And then they blame it on you when it goes wrong. So I just thought that was interesting, because it's like with more and more AAA games going to this like live service game or whatever, and expecting everyone to waste their time on like playing 16 live service games or whatever, and you have to sit here going, just the indie scene continuing just to make interesting games that are like neat and replayable and everything like that. There's more interest in Hades 2 and Silksong than there is in like the Suicide Squad Kill of the Justice League or anything like that, really.
Oh, absolutely. Easily. That game was over before it started, and so is a lot of different like live services that have been coming to the market, at least from like the AAA scene. It's fucking sad, man. At the exact same time,
it's hard to be like, I don't know, excited for live action games, because again, it's just like when there's like
live service.
God damn, I did it again.
Sorry.
Live service games. It's just like it's hard to say, oh, I'm gonna spend all my time on this and this and this and this and this. I'm like, it's like, are you trying to like? Is the whole point of having like all these different ones, all these different live service games, is like just to waste everyone's goddamn time, because nobody's gonna play more than like maybe 2 at a time, maybe.
Well, you have all these studios competing for everyone's attention, and it feels like none of them really know what the general audiences want anymore.
No. And it's like, you mentioned Helldivers or whatever, and that seems to be the game that like knows how to keep people's attention while making an interesting kind of like live service game. I don't know if there aren't like a bunch of like live service games that are coming out like Helldivers, I'll be surprised.
But I think we've already talked about this, but I feel like a bunch of studios are going to try and rip Helldivers off. They're all going to do a terrible job. And then they're going to move on to the next thing that they perceive as popular.
Which will probably be just another live service game, or maybe mobile games.
Like a version of it, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, I get that, like, the single player game or whatever doesn't make the most amount of money, but you still sell a ridiculous amount of copies of the game when like a big game release. I mean, look at like God of War Ragnarok or Marvel Spider-Man or anything like that. It's like, when you put the time and effort to make the game good or whatever, people will buy it, and you'll still make a bunch of money off it. It goes back to the idea that, it seems like publishers don't want to make millions of dollars anymore. They want to make billions of dollars. And how do you do that? You make it through live service.
I don't know, man. I really don't feel like these live services are like the infinite money pit that a lot of
they're not.
Publishers think that they are.
They're not. Especially that's the thing.
Especially when they're coming out at full price. It's like, if you just put out like a really decent single player game and like without live service, I feel like you do a lot better than you are now. Especially when you look at like you said, like God of War Ragnarok and Harry Potter or whatever it's called, Hogwarts Legacy or some shit.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that being made into a live service game soon. I'm sure it will.
They already said that they're going to try making a live service Harry Potter game, didn't they?
Yeah. I assume that'll be whatever WB cooks up next, which will be a half-baked piece of pile of poo. But,
Dude, it's so fucking frustrating. Did you hear that Take-Two did a big layoff?
Yeah,
I
didn't read much into that. I
I feel like I don't need to read too much into it because it's like you're a studio. You're going to put out Grand Theft Auto 6 like either this year or next year. It is going to be one of the most popular and best-selling games of all time. You're going to make tens of billions of dollars off this thing. And you want the thought of you thinking anybody will believe that you need to make studio layoffs is fucking laughable. You are the last studio that can justify.
And you know the thing about it as well, it's like didn't Take-Two literally just recently buy like a studio as well?
I think so.
I can't remember what it was or anything like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was like I thought I bought, or maybe it was like, was it the 2K series? I think that's what it was. I think it was like the sports games, like the 2K sports games.
Nope, Take-Two, they acquired Gearbox.
That's right, they acquired Gearbox.
So they're doing all this stuff. They're acquiring studios, which again you could say in a way is wasting money. You're about to launch one of the single biggest video games, probably of the next century.
At least the next decade, probably.
It sounds cruel. I like seeing studios that do shit like this fail. I really hope they're going to make billions of dollars. I hope Take-Two does something stupid and they lose billions, though.
I mean,
fuck the people that make these shit ass decisions.
Do you know the thing about like all this though, especially like it's just like because I remember seeing like a headline like I think not long after they announced the Gearbox acquisition or whatever, they talked about how there was no plans for like canceling games or laying off people or whatever, and then literally like 2 weeks later, here we are. But it's just like like we talked about as well. It's like you have GTA 6 sort of around the corner, somewhat like within the foreseeable future, at least.
It's coming out within at least the next year. I'm pretty positive of that.
I was like, I think it's. I could definitely see it. I could definitely see it coming out like next year, like not December, the September, like September or summer or something like that, probably. And it's just like. And the thing about how I look at GTA 6 is like this is either going to be the biggest game like and it will sell more than like any of the Call of Duties like have ever done. Like I 100% believe that it will, and it probably will regardless of how well it launches or anything like that. But it's like if it launches poorly and has just a bunch of technical issues and like a bunch of things that are wrong with it or whatever, clearly I mean they'll recover. But it's just like it's not going to be a good look.
Make money either way. But
exactly.
You are right. It'll be a terrible look. For Take-Two's sake, they better hope they don't have a Cyberpunk on their hands.
Well, at least people are coming back to Cyberpunk, and yeah. But again, it's the thing that we've talked about countless times. But AAA games just seem to always come out broken because they're either not given enough time to technical. Just on the technical side, where making sure that like there's not a huge game-breaking bugs or glitches. I mean, day one there will always be bugs and glitches or whatever. But if it's truly game-breaking or anything like that, then it's kind of an unplayable state.
Yeah,
it's like little ones are here or there. I think you can kind of understand, and they patch it out as they go.
Like small visual glitches and stuff like that. That's bound to,
that's bound to happen.
Fall through the cracks as.
I mean, you're not gonna.
I can't say shit.
You're not gonna fix everything. Like when you what was it? Like they always say, like during QA testing, it's like you fix one thing and like two more problems arise or something like that. It's just how it happens. You fix one thing, another two things go wrong. So it's just like I don't mind when it's just like little things like that. Sometimes they can be kind of funny visual glitches or whatever like that. Maybe some immersion things or whatever. But when the game literally launches in an unplayable state where the game's constantly crashing, you can't progress in the story or anything like that. It's just that's just like, okay, now, it's really. it's the same thing when like live service games happen, and then the servers can't, keep up to you looking at you, Battlefront Classic Collection or whatever, Classic Collection.
That's just most games in general, though. Remember when? Actually, no. I think Diablo 4 came out pretty stable, didn't it? Or am I remembering that wrong?
No, not well. It wasn't as bad as past Blizzard games have been, but they definitely had. There was long queue times. I remember that much.
Okay.
But other than that,
there are like historical context to like server issues. So those are.
I will say one of the big things when it first came out is because of how like when you went into a hub area. Mm-hmm. In like some of the places, like it would load in all the people, and which would load in all their like gear all at once, which would cause the game to crash on occasion. So there was that. Look, they mostly fixed that.
You would hope.
Yeah, I mean they mostly fixed that pretty quick, so it's better now.
That's good.
Yeah, but it's like, man. Apparently, for the next season of Diablo, since we were just talking about Diablo, apparently they're planning to revamp the gear system completely, or at least like the loot system completely. And I go, what the hell does that mean? I have no idea what that means, but I was like, season 1. I mean, the game just launched, so obviously you're gonna play it or whatever. It was okay. Mm-hmm. Season 2 was really good, and season 3 has been. I haven't even gone back to even play it at all. It's just like have no interest. I don't know. So I was like,
can I confess something to you? It's gonna make me sound terrible.
Sure.
I haven't played it since that one time I streamed it with you.
That's fair. I mean, I can't tell you how many games I have on my my Steam list that I've like either never played or played maybe once or twice. Looking at you, Elden Ring. I played it that one day, and I haven't played it since.
Jesus.
Yeah, it happens. I always hate to do that, though. And it's just like... I was just like, I'm not really playing a whole lot right now. It's like, yeah, I still need to play, like, Rebirth or whatever. But it's like, I still look here, and I'm just going like, I can play all these different games or whatever. I was like, some games I've just never played or anything like that. And they go, nah, I'm just going to go back to doing some other bullshit. I don't know. It's sometimes just so hard to start like a new game, especially one like Elden Ring that's like just so big. It's just like, oh my god.
And it's so outside of what you're used to playing, basically.
It's so vastly different from what I usually play, and then like
it's just really jarring.
It's also just like I know it's going to be a difficult game. It's going to frustrate me. I think mm-hmm. that's the main issue, especially like those kind of games. It's just like I'm going to die like a bunch of times because that's just how the game is. And you're either like, you kind of just work past that, or you just go, fuck this fucking shit, you know?
Yeah, I get you.
Apparently, the Fallout series is actually pretty good, from what I hear. So that's pretty neat.
What's pretty good?
The Fallout series.
Yeah. I was going to start that today, and I just didn't.
Yeah. I was just thinking to myself, like, maybe I should watch it? I don't know. I don't really have much of an interest to. I guess I have no reason not to, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. I mean, I said the same thing about like the Last of Us series or whatever. I was like, I haven't watched that at all either. Just don't really care to.
Man, fucking Bethesda fumbling the bag though, not releasing like a Fallout game alongside it, not even like a remaster, is a little disappointing.
I mean, I know what is it on? Is it on Twitch, or is it on through somewhere else where they have like a bunch of the Fallout games for free?
Well, they're not free, but a bunch of them are on sale on Steam.
That's right. Well, at least there's that, I guess.
They also released a next-gen upgrade for Fallout 4 on Xbox, at least. It's just so disappointing, man. Like, I think we talked about this last week. I know they want to make fucking Elder Scrolls right now, but you can't have any. There's no studios that can be working on like a Fallout At least just like Fallout Project. It doesn't even have to be like a mainline game.
Yeah.
I'm slurring my words a lot. I apologize.
You good. I don't know. It's just like, I mean, again, we're beating a dead horse here, but like, it's just like, it just feels like a lot of these AAA games just don't care to make like smaller games anymore. It's just like, I'll never understand why. It just makes no sense. But it's just
Can't
like,
justify the $70 price tag that you don't have to charge people.
exactly. You don't have to do that.
One of the most successful games of the year has been fucking Helldivers 2, and that game's only $40. Absolute insanity, bro.
It'll be interesting. Like, it'll be interesting. Like going forward, it's just like if like especially if like AAA game goes to more of this like live service, like Path Route or whatever, where it's like less and less. I don't know, like single player games come out or story driven games come out, and they're more of just these live service games. It's like, will indie games take over? Will there be more studios kind of coming about? Like, and it's just like if these live service games don't pan out for these like publishers or whatever, and it's like they start losing a bunch of money, and they go, well, now we have to go back to single player games or anything like that, and because that's what people want. I don't know. It's just like, will the indie scene just like kind of take over? Not necessarily, but I think people will continue to be more interested in indie games than they will AAA probably.
I think that's the direction that the industry is heading in, where more and more people are going to be interested in indie stuff, and we're already kind of seeing that, where a lot of the big games this year have all been indie stuff. You have Helldivers, you have, obviously we already talked about Hades 2 and Silksong coming up hopefully this year. Aside from that, like you even have like a Lethal Company, and there's apparently a new one that's out called Content Warning, I think it's called.
Yeah. Yeah,
just
it's like Lethal Company, but you're making a YouTube channel.
So it's like, I don't know, man. People have been paying a lot more attention to indie games, and they've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So my hope is that the AAA scene eventually sees like all these smaller games or more indie games are making more money. We should try maybe focusing on more like single player stuff, or we should release like maybe not these huge mega games and invest all of our money into that, and release something smaller at like a lower price point. It could go either way. Obviously, I think we're going to have a healthy balance of both types of games in the future. I do think we're kind of seeing the start of what I think is going to be a shift in the industry, though. I do also stand by my theory that we're going to have a pretty big video game crash here soon.
I mean, yeah, it's basically inevitable, right? Like, the past couple years have been the games that have come out since the time of like COVID time or whatever. Like, that's been the past couple years, and like now we're reaching the tail end of it. Like, I talked about how like when it comes to like games that I'm super looking forward to that are at least have confirmed release dates right now, it's like they're all out. It's like Persona 3 Reload and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth are like the only ones that I'm looking forward to. Like, yeah, I'm looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 like Leviathan DLC, whatever that one's called again, I forgot. And I was just like, I'm interested in that one, and I'll definitely play it. But I'm just like, after that, I've really don't know what else I am looking forward to for the rest of this year when it comes to video games. It's like, yeah, I'm sure I'll find an indie game every so often here or there, but that's about it. And it's like, oh, well, we're gonna get like GTA 6 next year, and I go, okay, tell me what else is coming out next year as well. Not really a lot in the tank at the moment. So it's like, yeah.
The only thing that I can think of is Avowed, but that's kind of about it.
Yeah, so that's why I sit here and I sit here and look, and it's just like we're gonna have a down year where there's not a lot coming out, because guess what? A lot of stuff's in development at the moment, or we're gonna get a lot of like cool trailers during like the Summer Games Fest or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. Like I don't foresee a lot of big AAA games releasing like now or whatever. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah, and especially if they're like, especially if they all want to make these live service games now, and I'm just going like, man, alive.
I'm just ready for the whole live service push to be over.
I mean, I look at it and I kind of sit here going, just like, it feels like it's like the battle royale craze all over again, right? Like when like, you know, PUBG and Fortnite all took over, everyone had to have a battle royale game. Everyone jumped on that craze right there, and then it just like it came. A lot of games came out, but a lot of them did not stick, and now there's only the few that were left or whatever. And now we've moved on from that point. So it's like, if this is like everyone's idea of getting like, oh, we saw how like Bungie basically lived on Destiny 2 for years or whatever, and they're continuing to do so. Although apparently, I guess the last expansion is coming out recently, like somewhat soonish. And I go, well, that's interesting.
That's neat.
Yeah, that's neat. It's not what I was expecting, but I was like, okay. It's like stuff like Final Fantasy 14. It's like, if they think you're gonna break into these, or like even like WoW is even having like a slight resurgence in interest as well. It's crazy to me. But it's like, I don't know how you're gonna beat these like games like that. It's like, we've seen like games like that kind of come out before or whatever, and most don't really stick very well.
You know what game has been? It's been weird seeing it online. That's kind of resurgence. People have been getting into Fallout 76 recently because of the Fallout series.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I was just looking on Twitch as well. Apparently, they're giving out free copies of the game too.
Yeah. Which I suppose it's good timing, and it gets people into the Fallout 76 community. Whatever that entails.
Yeah.
Oh, it also just got a big expansion.
Oh, did it? So it looks like they did plan it with something then.
Yeah.
Go figure that one.
The Atlantic City update. What does it do? You can make your own... You can build your own casinos, apparently.
Woo! Gambling, baby! I'm going high rolling.
If that's not the perfect like representation of the live service scene, I don't know what is.
That's very funny, honestly.
Yeah, you can. We got this big new update. You can gamble now.
They fly now? Yeah. That is something else, ain't it?
Yeah.
Just real fast, just because we were talking about gambling or whatever, I just went on to Twitch or whatever and just see. I was like, oh, how long will it take me to find gambling? It took me 2 clicks. I went onto the browse section, and I see there's a thing called slots. And I go, I thought they got rid of this.
Man, who likes watching that?
I don't know.
I get people, and they're like gambling addicts, and people that like watching people like play Texas Hold'em, I guess. I know a few people that like watching that shit. Well, I don't know them, but I know they exist.
You know they exist.
But why? Like, why slots and why on Twitch? Are they like big, like mainstream streamers?
I have no idea. I'm so far removed from the Twitch game anymore. It's like, who the fuck knows?
Yep, there it is. You're right, though. I thought they got rid of gambling on Twitch.
Yeah, that's what I said, too. I was just like, okay, so is it okay that as long as they have the like gambling game tag or whatever. I don't know. Either way, it's stupid. There's some things on like Twitch I don't really understand, like why people like necessarily watch a lot of times, like chess. I know chess is like another big one that like people like to watch, and I don't really know why.
Chess I can kind of understand. Slots is the big one for me. Who the fuck wants to watch that? It's like chess is a game. You can there's like actual skill involved in it. Slots, you press a button and hope for the best. It's stupid.
I was just looking. I saw Inkbound was near the top, and I was just like, oh, it says it has 94K viewers. Hey, guess what? 94K viewers from Soda Poppin', who's playing the game right now. That's just one of the big streamers just playing it.
What's Inkbound? I've never heard of that.
It's fuck. What is that? This is it's a game that's made by the same people as like Monster Train.
Okay.
It looks pretty interesting.
Is it a Splatoon ripoff?
No,
that's what it sounds like.
No, it's not. It's basically like. Did you ever play what is that game called? Like I have it in my Steam library. Let me look it up first. Let me look it up here. I think they were like the. Fuck.
It kind of looks like Diablo.
Sort of.
Or like
have you ever played the game Force Showdown or something like that?
No, I can't say I have.
It's made by I forget who the fucking studio is. It's made by Beta Dwarf or whatever, which is kind of like it's like basically like you're a hero going through like a gauntlet on like this like show or whatever, and it's just like, oh, your whole thing is like beat the monster or beat like the boss at the end of the thing or whatever, and you advance to the final boss and so on and so forth. It's a lot of fun. It was one of my favorite games to play like years and years ago.
Okay.
At this point, but it basically looks like that, and that's why I was super interested in that, because it has like a co-op and everything like that. So
I mean, it does look really good. At least like the art style and surface gameplay that I'm seeing looks good.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It's like it's basically just like, oh, let's throw roguelike elements into a game that had a cool premise that never really took off. I think they also said it has like, if you've ever played like Transistor or whatever, it also has like combat like Transistor, where it's like turn based and you like plan out your turn as you go. I don't know, it looked interesting.
I really liked it, Transistor. Yep, there it is. Let's see it now. 5 viewers, 4 viewers, 4 viewers, 1 viewer, 9.5k viewers.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm glad they got a big streamer to play their game, though. That's awesome.
Cool.
If you scroll up a little bit, you'll see they have another one called Virtual Casino, where it's just more people playing slots.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that.
We haven't talked about, like, Twitch's fucking identity crisis in a while, have we?
I mean, what's new to say? I mean, really. Nothing's changed.
No.
Honestly, it's like I don't watch a ton of Twitch anymore. Anything like that. Like I have a few like streamers that I still like to watch these days or whatever, and whenever I feel bored or whatever, it's like I'll just kind of slap them on or whatever. But it's just like, it's so interesting to me that it's just like Twitch at one point was like my go-to for a lot of things. Like if there was a game I was really interested into, I'd just go into that and I'd find a streamer that was like, seems kind of cool. I'd probably like click around for a while. Now I just don't do that. And I was like, maybe that's just me, but it's like, I don't know. It just feels like a lot of people don't do that anymore. It's like you have your set, you have like the big set streamers or whatever, and then it's just like no one really goes beyond those guys anymore. And that's sucks.
Yeah.
So when GTA 6 comes out, do you think Twitch will just break that day?
Probably. Do you think it's going to launch with online, or do you think it's going to be just single player for a
Oh,
while?
it probably will. And here's the thing: the single player will probably be fine. Multiplayer will be absolutely broken, and no one will be able to play it.
Everyone's going to try. No one's going to be able to.
Exactly.
Oh, man. I wonder if it's going to be an always online game.
Ooh, that is a good question.
Imagine if the game comes out and servers are so flooded right off the bat, everyone's trying to play and no one can get in. That will be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah.
Did you see the CEO for Wizards of the Coast resigned recently?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did it say what for, out of curiosity? Or just like, just kind of moving on?
Let me quick look up. It doesn't say why. It just says that she resigned.
I mean, most of the time they don't really give a reasoning, but I was curious if they did or not.
Yeah. They did say that they plan on finding a replacement soon and blah, 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 blah.
You know, all the general just bullshit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's fair. I don't know. It's just like, usually like, oh, when you think it's like, oh, CEO, you think it's a big thing. I'm like, yeah, for a well-established company like that, it's not necessarily. It's like they're going to continue to do things as they've always operated or whatever. I know there's a lot of people really interested in the new Magic set. I haven't really looked at it much. There's a Modern Horizons 3? Excuse me? They announced that?
I didn't know that at all.
Emrakul World Anew? What the hell is that?
Whenever this deals combat damage to a player, you get that many additional upkeep steps after this phase.
Wait, what the fuck?
Where are you seeing the Modern Horizons 3 stuff?
It's on TCG Player. I'm looking at this Emrakul that's in it. It says Emrakul, a world anew. When you cast, it's a 12 mana, just generic mana. When you cast this spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls. Flying, protection from spells and permanents that were cast this turn. When Emrakul World Anew leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control. It also has a madness cost, so when you discard it, you can pay this instead of paying its normal cost to play it, which is just 6 mana.
What the shit?
You're
saying it's on TCG Player? I'm not seeing it at all.
If you go under the Magic tab on the top, it'll be under latest sets, it'll be the top set.
Now we cast a spell, gain control. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that Emrakul is fucking nutty.
Flying protection from spells. Does that mean you can't counter it?
It says protection from spells and permanents that cast it this turn. I believe that's what it says.
Protection from spells and from permanents that were cast this turn.
So technically, protection works as when it's on the battlefield, basically. So you can counter it because it doesn't say you can't. That'll honestly be the best way. So how fast do we think the thing's gonna get banned?
Couple days.
I doubt
that's too nutty. The idea that you can pay.
I mean, I said the same thing about Aeon's. Well, not Aeon's Torn, because that's the one that actually is banned. Promised End or whatever, where it's like, take control of a target player, and you control them this turn.
This is so much worse.
Is it though?
I really feel like this is infinitely worse, especially since you can cast. Especially the whole madness cost. I think that makes it.
I mean, yeah, that is horrific, but
yeah,
because you can just cheat it out for half the cost. It's like I don't really know what. I haven't really looked at like the Thunder Junction set since the one time we talked about it or whatever. And I was just like, I've heard there's some pretty nutty cards in here, and I've seen a couple of them. I was just like. I just have no idea otherwise.
Okay, some good elf support. Ooh, new frog.
Hashtag new frog? New frog drop?
Yeah. Exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Psychic frog gains flying until end of turn.
It's a flying frog. Look out!
Whenever a Sacred Frog deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card.
It's not bad.
Then there's the new Emmerich rule. There's another Eldrazi. Colorless spells you cast with mana value 7 or greater cost 1 less to cast. Other colorless creatures you control get +1/+1. Why do they keep dropping so much Eldrazi support? That's always consistently so good.
I love
That's
Eldrazi.
a 2-drop.
Yeah, that's pretty. It's pretty good.
I mean, you just get that with like that Eldrazi precon that they put out. Shit is just fucking nutty, bro.
I always like how like the whole point of Modern Horizons, or at least the original idea behind the Modern Horizons set, was to bring, it was to just reprint like modern staples. And it's like, I'm pretty sure that, you know, this Emrakul, because I've never seen it before, the World's Anew, is it just a new card? And it's like, there's a new Ajani I see here, like the Psychic Frog, there's like this like a Flare of Cultivation that seems pretty fucking cool. It's a 3 mana, just like Cultivate, but you can sacrifice a non-token green creature you control rather than paying its mana cost. So AKA, you can just you just play a 1/1 like elf or whatever that you don't care about, and just search for 2 mana. Cool. That's it. That's all you need to do. It's like it's like the whole point of the Modern Horizons set was to just reprint old cards, and then you obviously like give them like a new flair with like different arts and stuff like that. And now it's just like, oh, let's also just make our own cards. It's like I see like Polluted Delta, Flooded Strand, let's
make new cards and make them crazy.
Yeah, it's like I see they have the fetch lands in here, which will definitely help their costs go down because a lot of them are still pretty fucking expensive. So that's good. But it's just like, oh yeah, let's also just print this like really nutty Eldrazi support while we're at it. Why the hell not? Great. Oh man, that's fun.
The box for it also has Tamio the Moonsage on it, so I wonder if we're gonna get a new like Planeswalker for her. Crazy, dude.
Okay.
What?
I just saw. I just look under here. It's like there's this under the Outlaws of the Thunder Junction. Bristly the Bill, the Spine Sower. It's got. It's a 2-mana mono green creature. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Pay 5 mana. Double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control. Okay.
There's a bunch of decks that would work really good in.
Looking at you, Hydras.
You can put that in Hydras. You can put that on Merfolk. You can put that on Elves. It would work. I think that would work pretty decently in Thalian Gitrog.
I mean, I'd have to build it slightly different, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty crazy ones though. Magic's nutty.
Yeah.
A lot of really crazy cards right there.
Maybe it's a good thing that she resigned.
So what?
Maybe it's a good thing she resigned.
Didn't want all the Magic players just going like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
We needed another Emrakul? Really? Another
no one needed that. Give us more bear support. Give us the goat support. Come on, you know you want to do it.
I mean, we are getting a new frog, so there's that.
Give us bears. We already gave you Azalea. We want more bears.
We need more bears.
More bears.
Do to bears what you did for squirrels.
Yep. See, now what Magic players don't realize though is that what they want is they need more boars in the game. I'm telling you, the boar deck is out there. Not pigs, boars.
Boars.
There's a difference. Oh, dude, something completely off topic, just because I thought of it as well. This is like in baseball. There was something that happened with one of baseball's worst umpires, basically. That happened. I don't know. Within like it's so crazy to me how it's just like within like 4 or 5 days, Angel Hernandez has been by far one of baseball's worst umpires in like for years. Like he's a meme. Everyone dislikes him basically and stuff like that. And the only reason he has a job is because of the umpire union basically. We all know it's like if they had the ability to fire him, they would have by now. It's like he's not good. But there was something that happened over the weekend. It was during a Rangers-Astros game where he called 3 straight strikes on balls that were nearly 6 inches off the plate. Not even remotely close to the strike zone. Not even remotely close. If anyone has seen it, it's on Twitter. Twitter or YouTube, Reddit. You can find him basically anywhere or whatever. And it just continues to be a thing or whatever of just terrible calls by. I mean, it's not just Angel Hernandez. I mean, there's a bunch of like, especially older, not always older, but most of the times it's older umpires that have been, calling games for a very, very long time. And a channel that I like to follow is John Boy Media. They're kind of just like baseball. They're mostly baseball. Like they do other sports, but baseball is the one that they do the most and have the most fun with. And what was it? John Boy is his name. He has a little like a talk show podcast. Like I think he puts it on a podcast, but where he kind of just talks about whatever he wants to talk about on these days or whatever. And the most recent episode he put out was him kind of talking about Angel Hernandez and everything like that, and it's just like how bad was it and everything like that. Deep dive and how bad it really was, and it was real bad. It was real bad. And then just talking about how in AAA they currently have the system which they call it the ABS, the automatic balls and strikes system. And basically what it is that in AAA, if it's usually done by the catcher. Sometimes the managers do it, but 9 out of 10 times, if not every time, is I think by the catcher. Maybe that's something new this year is the catcher. But in past years, it was the manager would do it, but they're trying to speed it up. So anyway, besides the point, is that there was over that same weekend there was an umpire that was like doing a AAA game or whatever, and it was like a situation where it was like guys in first and second and like 2 out or something like that with like a 1-run lead for the team that was pitching. So they were just like trying to get out of this situation, and a ball comes in or whatever and goes right. It hits it right on the corner or whatever, and the umpire calls it a ball. And to which the catcher does. He pats on his helmet, telling the umpire that he wants to challenge it. You have to do that within 2 seconds of the catching the ball, basically, or at least very short. Like I think you have until you throw the ball back to the pitcher to decide whether or not you want to challenge that. Now, a lot of people say it's like, well, that's going to slow down the game or everything like that. Everyone's so insistent about slowing down the game of baseball. Whatever. I'm going to tell you right now, this will be so fast, so unbelievably fast. You want to know how fast they got this call right and everything like that? 15 seconds. It took 15 seconds to change one call because...
That's fucking embarrassing.
To change one call, because all you have to do is catcher catches the ball. He goes, you called that a ball? No, I think it's a strike. So he taps his helmet. Umpire says, okay, you're going to challenge it? All right, they're challenging the call on the field or whatever. They show it up on the big screen on the thing there, because that's how the system works. And you see because how the ball tracks it, and it says whether or not it hit the strike zone with all the data that they have, and it did. So then it got called for strike 2. And instead of walking the guy, the count moved to full count. And it's just, in that whole process took 15 seconds. Pitcher got out there, threw the next pitch, called it a ball again, walked the guy. Catcher calls a challenge again, taps on his helmet again, and again the umpire gets it wrong, and they get out of the inning. Guy strikes out, but it's just like that tells you just the impact of like a system like that. Is that it's like it's seamless. It doesn't ruin the flow of the game, and does everything right. Mm-hmm. And I want to see this with this ability in MLB within like the next 2 years. Honestly, with how bad umpiring has gotten, some umpires are very, very good, but some are just god awful behind the plate. It is just unbelievable, and the amount of times that an inning swings because it's like a full count and a very, very close pitch gets called a ball or called a strike when it should have been a ball or something like that, and it just completely ruins the flow of an inning and everything like that. It's like, that's not how baseball should be. Like, I understand that everyone makes mistakes, umpires make mistakes. It's hard to get every call in a game right.
Systems like should be in place like that, though, to correct mistakes when they happen.
Exactly. That was the point I was getting to as well. So it was just like, but there should be help to help these guys get this right or whatever. It's like you're playing on a very big like platform and everything like that, and with like professionals that like their whole thing is like playing at a high level. So it's like when something happens that's out of their hands, it's very frustrating for everyone. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. But one thing that he pointed out while he was talking about that as well is that a lot of the umpires in Major League Baseball, because they've been up in the majors for so long, won't really understand how this whole ABS system works and everything like that. And it's just like, and the idea that when they bring this system up, they're probably going to have to promote a lot of AAA umpires up to either help these older umpires, learn the system and everything like that, or potentially take over. But you can't really do that unless they're going to just retire. So I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting because it's just like we could definitely. I was like, I wonder if it's like with all the stuff with like Angel Hernandez over the past couple days or whatever, like those really bad calls he had. Not even just those three. Like, those three are the ones that everyone highlights or whatever. But when you look at the entirety of that game, holy crap. It was a very, very poorly called game from him behind the plate. So much so that, like, talk shows around the nation are talking about it. Like, Jeff Passan has been, like, going on, like, shows kind of just talking about it or whatever. And if you don't know who Jeff Passan is, he's basically just the guy who breaks all of, like, whenever there's like a big trade that's happening or some big news that comes out of baseball, it's like usually if he's the source from it, it's probably right. So he's basically just the one who kind of just usually has the first to hear these things and breaks the news about important things like that. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that he's even talking about it and going on these shows, like, it's pretty interesting to me.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought, I was like, man, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. That an umpire can get so shit at their job that basically everyone's talking about it.
Well, it's just like, it's just crazy to me that it's just like, I get that, it's like time gets over or whatever, but it's like, I feel like this is just kind of like the old mentality of like sometimes older people as well. It's like you oftentimes see a lot of these, like I recently saw there was a call by some team. I think it was like an umpire by the Mets, and it's like they were deciding on whether or not a move by a pitcher was a balk. And it's basically like, if you don't know what a balk is, because it's very ambiguous or whatever, balks are basically just like when a pitcher makes a move that is intentionally to deceive a pitcher or a hitter in ways. It's like, or especially it's usually when runners are on base or whatever, because like the whole thing is like pickoff moves. It's like if you can just, it's really hard to explain box basically, but it's like you can't just, if you're gonna throw over to first base, you need to step off the plate well. If you don't do it correctly, the runner on first, let's say if there's a runner on first and they don't do it correctly, then the runner on first is automatically granted second base, and so on and so forth. It's like everyone on base gets to move up a base. That's basically it. And there was a discussion on whether or not a pitcher balked or whatever, and the home plate umpire stopped play or whatever because he saw this little flinch by this pitcher or whatever, and it's hard to see. A lot of balks are very, very hard to see because it's just slight little movements. That's really all it can be sometimes. And it was just like, and like a lot of like the announcers had a fucking heyday that the home umpire saw it and went to convene with his second base umpire to say, it was like, hey, did you see that or whatever, just confirming what he saw rather than just calling it right there and then. And they had a problem with that, and I said, no, you shouldn't have a problem with it. That's how umpiring should be. That, hey, I think I saw something, did you also see that thing? If they agree with it, then you should go with that, especially if you're not the crew chief.
Yeah, especially just so you can like confirm that something something really happened. And,
that something actually happened.
And we get like multiple like perspectives on that.
Because the worst case scenarios are just when like an umpire is completely just like will not hear anything about it. Like they know they made the bad call, but because they made the call on the field, they're going to stick with it or whatever. It's just crazy to me because like not that long ago, funny enough, we're going to talk about Angel Hernandez again because God forbid this guy has been on a fucking week, a tear of just piss poor shit calls. But earlier this season, I don't even know if it was last week, but there was a swing by a Rockies pitcher or hitter that he called a swing. I'm going to tell you right now, it was nowhere even close to a swing and everything like that. The guy struck out because there was a pitch high and inside, so it was going to hit him. So but he was also kind of swinging at the same time. So he kind of does like the little thing where he's like kind of swinging and then he stops and kind of backs up or whatever. He kind of pulls his arms out so he doesn't get hit. Angel Hernandez decides, no, that's a swing. And he goes, wait, what? And it's like, that's a swing. You're out because you swung and you missed. And there was no foul tip or anything like that. And he goes, what? Are you serious? You called that a swing? He's like, it wasn't a strike, was it? And he goes, no, it wasn't a strike. You swung. And I'm just like, oh my God, dude. It was, and it's just like the managers come out and the manager comes out and he goes, is like, do you have a swing or whatever? And he's like, I have a swing or whatever. Then they go talk to the other umpires or whatever. And he comes back and he goes, Angel had him swinging and he's the one who made the call and he's not backing down from it. So we got to stick with it. And I go,
what the fuck, bro?
So it's always my thing. It's like, it's really funny, the duality of like announcers. It's just like, is that some announcers will be like, get the help or whatever type thing, especially on check swings. Oftentimes batters will want to confirm with either the first or third base umpire, whoever has the side where the bat comes around, whether if you're lefty or righty. We'll just like say, check swing, the home plate umpire will point down at the appropriate umpire and go, hey, did he swing? And then they'll say yes or no or whatever like that. Players don't like it when home plate umpires necessarily, unless it's obvious, call a check swing or whatever. Most of the time they want you to confirm.
Yeah.
So the fact is that he did that on a thing that was not even remotely close was just like a, what the fuck, man? It's really weird. It's like, I think baseball is in probably one of its best states it's been since 2016, I would have to say. Like, I think that right now where baseball is at right now, like, yeah, obviously there's still growing pains and everything like that, but it's like, but from what it is, it's like, baseball has been the most entertaining that it's been for the past couple of years. Like the past 2 years of baseball, I think has been some of the most entertaining years in baseball I've ever seen. But also during that same time, it feels like umpiring has been the worst it's ever been. But at the same time, it's also been the best. It's weird to say that, and it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. But it's like the thing is as well. It's the similar.
I get where you're coming from, basically.
It's the idea that we always call out when bad calls happen, but we never look at a really, really well called game or anything like that. We don't praise an umpiring team for saying, "Hey, you didn't fuck up that many calls." Like maybe there was a couple like one or two bad strike calls here or there. That's going to happen, you know. So it's just like, but it's like I remember, I think it was last year during the playoffs or whatever. There was an Astros Houston game, or Astros Houston. Yeah, they're the same thing. The Astros like Texas game, I think it was. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was some other one. Either way, there was a game of the playoffs that was literally called perfect, like by all stretch of the imagination. Because like there's like this Twitter account that's like the umpire report cards or whatever that come out. They usually come out the next day and they talk about like, you know, important calls. What calls did like the umpire miss? What was their percentage of strike calls as opposed to ball calls? Were they all correct calls? That type of thing. And there was one where it was like he didn't miss a single one. There was not a single missed call in a playoff game. That is impressive. And there's not enough talk about that kind of stuff. And there were some really close calls, I remember, in that game. I remember, again, going back to John Boy Media or whatever, they literally did like a breakdown, like talking about like talking about it, like I was just like, man, there was some really close calls or whatever, but he got them all right. And, you know, when it comes to like just the stat track, and I was just like, that's really impressive, and not enough talk about that. So, and it's like I feel like there are more games, not quite perfect, but umpired well, that don't get highlighted, and then there's games with like Angel Hernandez or CB Buckner, or I don't know. Those are some of the bigger like names that they usually come up whenever you see a poorly called game, and it's just like, but we always dunk on those guys or whatever because they're the easy ones to dunk on, but it's just like there are also some guys that are doing some really good work down there. So I praise them, and I will continue to laugh at Angel Hernandez. I feel bad, but at the same time, he's kind of deserved it.
He has it coming. Basically,
it's like you should really know when to probably just call it a career and just say, I'm too old for this shit.
It's about time
it's about time to pack up.
Probably.
I mean, especially if this automated balls and strikes calls system happens or whatever. I think that'd be huge, and I think would be a huge shakeup, because either a lot of umpires are going to have to learn the system quickly, like systems that AAA umpires are already using, or a lot of these AAA umpires are going to replace them. It's not a bad thing. It's just what happens.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's just what happens. The Warriors got eliminated last night from the NBA playoffs because they boy, that was a tough one to watch. I didn't watch much of that game, but I remember not that long ago the Warriors were the team that everyone wanted to beat, basically, because you had one of the best shooting duos in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, and it's like even like when Kevin Durant was there, it's like within 10 years they won 4 NBA championships. They were the team to beat. And just to kind of watch them kind of like, I don't know, kind of fall from grace right now like they are, it's like they're old. And Klay Thompson's not the guy he used to be or anything like that. It's like you have a lot of guys like Andrew Wiggins is had a down year. And it's like Steph, he's still doing the other things, but he can't do it all by himself.
It's like watching the modern day Yankees what used to be like the Yankees basically, where like for the longest time they were the team to beat, and
Yeah, pretty much. It's just like this team that you watch like literally dominate like the NBA. I remember there were years where they won like 62 games and only lost like 18 games or something like that, and then
that's crazy.
And then this time they barely made the playoffs and had to be they didn't even technically they didn't make the playoffs. There was the play-in game, and then they lost to the Kings convincingly. Like it wasn't even a close game. And it's like Klay Thompson went 0 for like 12 shooting. Like he didn't make a single shot. And the guy that came off the bench and played 2 minutes, who scored a 2-point, had like a 2-point bunny or whatever, had more points than the guy who played almost the entirety of the game. It's just like, man, that's rough.
That sucks. That really sucks.
It also really sucks for like Klay Thompson, who had really, I was like, he was the guy who had like, he was like one of the best shooters in the game or whatever, and then right when like, and he had a lot of good years, I will say that, and I'll say this, but like then he had tore his AC or his what is it muscle in his leg. I forgot which one it was, MCL or ACL. ACL. He had a really bad ACL tear, and was sidelined for a whole year. Then during the off season that he recovered, he then tore it again. that same one.
Jesus.
So he was gone. He was not in the league for like 2 years, trying to nurse that ACL tear, and then came back and he was just never the same. And it stinks. It's like you had two of the best like shooters in all of the NBA, like pretty much of all time basically, and like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And it's just like, and then it's just like, oh, Steph can't. It's hard. It almost feels like Steph's like having a hard time even making a shot these days. And it's just like, Jesus. I don't know. Passing of the torch, I guess, because and not everyone.
Of people that should probably turn in the towel.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people. I mean, that's what a lot of people say, but obviously not very nice, like we are trying to be.
Yeah.
But it's just like. It's like at some point you just got to realize I ain't got it no more. I don't know.
It must be hard coming to that conclusion.
Oh,
though.
yeah. I can't imagine it's easy.
Being at the top of your game for so long, being so good, and just having that all basically snatched away from you. You really want to hold on to the hope that one day you're going to make it back. One day it's all going to be like the way it used to be.
Yeah.
It must be like just crushing just to come to that conclusion that I'm not the hot shit anymore.
Yeah, I'm not the guy I used to be. Like I can't shoot the ball like I used to be able to, or do the things I used to be able to do.
So genuinely, I feel like really bad for the guy.
Yeah. It's like a lot of that Warriors team is kind of just like years and years ago, they were the team to beat, and they kept them all around and everything like that to win more championships. Like I said, they won 4 championships. That's not an easy feat, and it's just like it's always so jarring to me as well as like you see like a guy like Klay Thompson or whatever like kind of lose his luster, where it's like LeBron is like he's like 40 something and is still like kicking ass. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's kind of unfair to compare. Obviously, it's unfair to compare the two of them, but it's like it is very unfair to compare the two of these guys because it's like LeBron never had, major injuries like Klay does or anything like that. Yeah. It's like, and like I said, like Steph, even in his like kind of like older years or whatever, he's still putting up like crazy numbers. Like he's still putting up like I think like 26 points a game or whatever, and like still shooting the three at a very very high rate. It's like I think what is it like 35% is good for NBA players, like percentage for hitting a 3-pointer or whatever, and Steph hits it around 42% of the time, which is nuts. It's like you don't call him the best shooter of all time for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, he absolutely is. It's like there will be a lot of guys that will come and go from the NBA that can shoot, especially shoot the three ball like he can. I don't think anyone will ever do it better than he did. It's kind of like it's kind of like how
not, no.
it's kind of like how it's just like you always have like you look back at like the NBA and it's like you have like no one's gonna be Michael Jordan or whatever. It's like everyone always likes to have the comparison with LeBron. It's like, oh, is LeBron just the modern day Michael Jordan? I go, it's just not fair to compare him because there's no such thing as another Michael Jordan. LeBron is his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he was like a perennial player for many years, and for how many more years he will play, who knows? It's like I know he's talked about wanting to be able to play with like his son one day, but his son did not have a very good first year at USC. I mean, granted, he also had a major medical problem like before the season even started, where it was like the thing where it's just like his whole body just like gave out on him one time, like he couldn't breathe or anything like that. Like he almost died. Like that's how bad it was. Like his son almost died because his body just like kaput on him. And then so you could say like that's probably partially his struggles. And I mean, granted, the media didn't help as well, wanting to report everything about him. So putting a major spotlight on him. So it's probably a lot of pressure, especially knowing that your dad is LeBron James.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what the NBA kind of looks like after like a lot of like these older guys like retire. It's like when LeBron retires, when Steph retires, when like Kevin Durant retires or anything like that. It's like, will it still have the star power that it used to have or whatever? Because kind of before, like the couple of years after like Michael Jordan, it was just like a lot NBA like really lacked star power, and it wasn't until like LeBron came around that it seemed to regain that star power, and a lot of players that followed after him. So it'll be interesting to see if they still have it. I think they do. I think there's still plenty of like really interesting players that are that are in the NBA right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they'll be just fine.
It's like Victor Wembanyama. You still got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jokic, just to name a few that are still like pretty, still got plenty of years to go, and are going to be really good going forward. So we will see. But I think it'll be fun. I'll just see if the Bucks can actually make it past the first fucking round this year against the goddamn Pacers. It's not looking good. Giannis isn't going to be playing at least for the start of the series, and we're up against the Pacers, who had one of the best offenses in the league, and we played like shit going into the playoffs, and I'm not happy about it. I don't claim to be an NBA expert, so I'll just leave it right there and then.
Well, you're still a bigger expert than I am.
I mean, yeah, I know some players and like general things, but that's about it. I'm not like, I was like, honestly, other than like Tyrese Halliburton and like who's the other like big scorer for the Pacers? I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember, but it's just like those are the two big. They have like two or three big scorers that it's going to be hard to stop, and they're going to score like 100 points, while the Bucks are going to barely score like 100. Feels like.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll just kick it on for the postseason. That'd be really cool.
I hope so.
I don't know. At least make a run, because it's not been the greatest year. It's like, yeah, they still finished with a pretty good record and everything like that. Like finished third in the NBA, but it's like, man, you could have played so much better. There was a lot of ups and downs this year, I feel like, because of like changing coach or whatever. It's like Dame came over to the Bucks, so it was like a change of scenery for him. It's like trying to figure out how to play with like this team again, figuring out synergies and in general things or whatever. It's like sometimes it takes time. It's like I kind of compared it to like when LeBron went over to the Miami Heat his first year as a Miami Heat. The Heat were not a very good team, and I think lost very early in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, everything just seemed to click, and then they won like I think it was like two or three championships there. And it was just like, I'm hoping that'll be the case for the Bucks, where it was just like this first year was kind of rough, didn't do a whole lot. I mean, if they figure it out right now, that'd be great. But if they don't, then maybe they'll figure it out over the offseason, figure out what they were lacking and everything like that, and then, come back next year and be one of the best teams in the NBA. That would be my dream. That would be great. So we will have to see, though.
We will definitely see.
Either that, or you're going to hear me bitch about how the Bucks played terribly against the Pacers.
I already listened to my brother talk about that.
That's fair.
I don't need it from you too.
Well, I mean, just on the podcast.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe I won't do that. I'm not going to do it like outside. That'd be stupid. Anyway,
not when a Bucks fan is around.
Exactly. All right. Well, should we call it there then?
I think so.
About an hour 20 on NIC, and my audio didn't break. That's great.
It has been pretty smooth today.
That's good. Like I said, before this, I was reconnecting all the wires and everything like that, and I'm just like,
oh no.
Hopefully, because I think it was just like some static feedback in one of the cables or something like that, or maybe just the board itself, but.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that'll be all for us. Oh, hey, look, remember how I just said it was not gonna break, and it just fucking broke? It stopped for no random reason. Woo! I hate everything. Thank you all so much for listening to another episode of that. I almost said That's Just Gamer Talk. God fucking damn it.
Still sounded okay.
Yeah, but as yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening to another episode of It Never Ends, and a lot of fucking random shit again, as always.
That's the name of the game, man.
It really is. So be sure to follow the co-host over there at wherever he does things. The links are in the show description or in the YouTube description. Which reminds me, you should subscribe to the YouTube so you can see our lovely, lovely faces when we were doing this as well. One of these days, I may or may not be able to put like pictures into stuff we're talking about or whatever. Maybe. We'll see.
One of these days.
One of these days, I'm sure. But yeah. Otherwise, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening to this, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, whatever. Not Apple, because I still can't figure that shit out. Tried the other day. It still don't work. I don't know what to do. So, sorry, Apple. You fucking suck. Anyway, see y'all next week, though. Bye-bye. I'm so glad, as I was talking about how the audio sounded just fine, it fucking broke. Can't fucking win.